My beloved child, come a little closer, and let these words fall upon your heart like morning dew upon ground dried by weariness. I do not look at you with the eyes of the world. I do not measure you by the days when you were weak. I do not name you by the moments when your steps faltered, and I do not confine your life within a dark season that has already passed. You often remember very clearly what you did wrong, very long what you have not yet done, and very deeply the moments when you thought you had lost yourself. But I see something far greater than that. I see the seed I placed within you from the beginning. I see the life still hidden beneath the soil. I see a work being formed by grace, by time, and by quiet training. You are not the ruins of what has happened. You are the one I am rebuilding, a young tree learning to root itself more deeply in the wind, a vessel being shaped to contain the pure thing I will pour into it at the appointed time. Sometimes you think I see only the distorted parts of you, but no, I see the final form that you cannot yet see. People easily stop at the crack, but I see the light that can pass through that crack. People easily draw conclusions from one mistake, but I begin a lesson precisely where you thought everything had ended. When you bow your head in shame, I do not use my hand to push you lower. I lift your face so you may remember that you still belong to me. What you call a flaw, I can turn into the place where grace is revealed. What you call slowness, I can use as the rhythm of preparation. What you call weakness, I can turn into a doorway through which you learn to depend on my gentle power. My child, I do not need a child who pretends to have no wounds. I desire a child who dares to let me touch the painful place and turn it into a testimony of restoration. Imagine a potter sitting beside the wheel in stillness. Before him is only a soft lump of clay, without shape, without lines, easily seen as something ordinary. But in the potter's eyes, the vessel already exists before it takes form. That hand presses down, lifts up, spins, smooths, reshapes, and then presses deeper again. The clay may not understand why it is being pressed, why it is being stretched, why at times it seems to be distorted. Yet through those very movements, what was undefined begins to take shape. What was rough begins to gain beauty, and what was ordinary begins to become useful. I am working in you in the same way. I do not waste the pressures you have endured. I do not accidentally allow you to pass through seasons that feel suffocating. I use trials to make your foundation stronger, waiting to deepen your heart, and days that are hard to understand to create greater capacity within you. Therefore, do not be quick to call delay abandonment. There are things I have not given immediately, not because I have rejected you, but because I am preparing you, so that when you receive them, they will not make you unstable. A gift that comes too early can become a burden. A door opened before your heart is steady can cause you to wander from what matters most. An answer given before you have learned to listen can make you depend more on the result than on me. I do not move according to the hurried pace of the world. I do not rush, simply because you are impatient, and I am not delayed because I am indifferent. I know the timing of the seed, the season of the rain, and the moment when the roots must quietly grow deep before the tree is allowed to rise high. If you look only at the surface of the ground, you may think nothing is happening. But I see beneath, where lasting things are being formed in silence. Waiting, beloved child, is not an empty room. It is the place where I teach you to distinguish between what you want and what truly gives you life. It is where I make the outside noise grow quieter, so my voice within you becomes clearer. It is where you learn that faith is not only rejoicing when the promise draws near, but also being at peace when the promise has not yet appeared, in the days when you cannot speed everything up. I am freeing you from the illusion that you must control every detail in order to be safe in the seasons when you cannot open the door yourself. I am teaching you that my hand has never been powerless. In the silence you think is meaningless, I am restoring order within you, settling what is hasty, deepening what is shallow, and making firm what is easily shaken. Do you remember the story of David? When he was still a shepherd boy, he was anointed for a great future, but the crown was not placed upon his head that day. After the calling came the fields, the quiet days, the battles no one saw with lions and bears, the years of being misunderstood, pursued, driven into caves and wilderness. Seen with ordinary eyes, it might have seemed that the promise had lost its way, that time had stretched too long, that the anointing was only a beautiful but distant memory. But I used the fields to teach him care, danger to teach him courage, loneliness to teach him to find refuge in me, and years without recognition to keep his heart from pride. When the time came, he did not merely step into a position. He entered it with a heart refined in hiddenness. Do you see? What I prepare within you is often more important than what I prepare for you. So do not despise your hidden season. Do not think that because no one sees you, I do not see you. Do not think that because there is no applause, the work within you has no value. Precious roots often grow in darkness before the branches are admired beneath the sun. The most beautiful vessels are not formed by one gentle touch, but through many times of being corrected, remade, and placed into the fire at the right temperature, so they may become strong. I do not let you pass through fire to burn you up. I allow what is unnecessary to be separated, so that true beauty is no longer covered by fear, haste, and self-doubt. When you feel held back, it may be that I am protecting the tender places within you from pressures you do not yet need to carry. When you feel slower than others, it may be that I am leading you on your own path, where your pace does not need to resemble anyone else's. Stop comparing your potter's wheel with someone else's journey. I do not shape every vessel into the same form. I do not call every tree to grow at the same speed. I do not lead every child through the same valley. Some are given open doors early, while others are hidden longer. Some learn through joy, while others cure through tears. Some are entrusted with small things first, while others must wait until the heart has grown truly deep before receiving greater things. But all of it rests within my wisdom. You are not left behind simply because you have not arrived where someone else has arrived. You are not less valuable because your process takes longer. Sometimes what is most precious requires the most time, not because it is weak, but because it is destined to carry something heavier, deeper, and more holy. So today, let your heart rest in my hands. When you feel unfinished, remember that I am still shaping you. When you feel turned and moved, remember that the wheel is still under my control. When waiting stretches long, remember that time in my hands is not your enemy, but an instrument of completion. I do not define you by your past, nor do I abandon you in the present. I am calling forth from within you what I planted long ago. I am strengthening what is weak, deepening what is shallow, softening what is hard, and brightening what was once covered. Trust me in the process, beloved child. An unfinished vessel is not a forgotten vessel. A seed that has not yet blossomed is not a dead seed. And you, though today you are still being refined, are still my child, loved, protected, and prepared for a season that, when it arrives, will help you understand that not one day of waiting in my hands was meaningless. My beloved child, let me remind you with deep tenderness, The distance between me and you is no longer a wall that cannot be crossed. From my side, no door is locked, and no veil remains hanging to keep you from coming near. I do not stand far from you like a cold king, waiting for you to make a mistake so I can condemn you. I draw near to you as a father draws near to a trembling child. As light quietly enters a dark room, as water finds its way back to dry and cracked ground. My grace is not a rare drop of water you must beg for in despair. It is an overflowing river, moving through the most barren places, washing away the deepest traces of weariness, and softening the regions within you that have grown hardened through pain. You cannot buy that grace with achievement, exchange perfection for it, or preserve it by your own strength. It is given to you. Because I love you, because I choose to have mercy on you, because I know you need me more than anything else. There are times when you think you must become worthy before you can return. You think you must set everything right first, become cleaner, stronger, more upright, and only then will I listen. But my child, that is not my voice. My voice does not drive you far away until you have repaired your life by yourself. My voice calls you near even while you are still tired, confused, trembling, and unsure where to begin. Grace does not wait for you to prove you can stand firm. Grace bends down when you no longer have the strength to stand. Grace does not come as wages for the one who has completed everything. Grace comes as a gift placed into the hands of the one who finally admits the need to be lifted. When you stop pretending that you are fine, when you stop straining to hide your brokenness, when you speak to me with the simplest truth of your heart, that is when you begin to feel my healing strength. I know why you forget this. It is not because you do not love me, nor because you intentionally turned away. You have been surrounded by too many weary voices. There are lies that have walked with you for so long that you began to think they were truth. They appeared in the moments when you failed, in the looks that made you feel small, in the nights when you asked yourself why you kept stumbling in the same place. They whispered that I was tired of you, that I no longer had patience for you, that you had gone too far, that you could only bear all the consequences on your own. Those words do not arrive with noise, but they repeat often enough to make you weary. Then there are times when you begin to believe that the way back has been covered over, that my hand has been withdrawn, that my call is no longer meant for you. But hear me speak into the deepest place within you. I am not your accuser. I am not the voice that sinks you into shame. I do not use the past as a whip against your back whenever you try to rise. The enemy only knows how to point at wounds in order to mock, to point at falls in order to drive you into despair, and to point at regrets in order to make you believe you no longer have value. But I look upon that painful place and lay healing upon it. I look upon what is cracked and begin restoration. I look upon the child bowed down by guilt and lift that face with mercy. Shame says you should hide. My love says you should come home. Condemnation says you have run out of chances. My kindness says renewal is still beginning. Do you remember the story of Zacchaeus? He was despised by many, viewed with suspicion, associated with wrongdoing and greed. People may have seen him as someone no longer worthy of closeness. But when he climbed the tree to see the Savior passing by, mercy saw him before the crowd wondered what was happening. The Savior did not stand beneath the tree to shame him before everyone, did not list every fault of his in the street, did not use holiness to crush a man longing to be changed. He called him down and entered his house. That merciful presence did what condemnation could never do. It opened the door to repentance, awakened the desire to make right what had been wrong, and transformed a despised man into one restored. Do you see? Mercy does not tolerate darkness, but it has the power to draw people out of darkness by a love stronger than every accusation. Therefore, do not be afraid to bring your chaos to me. I am not surprised by what you are wrestling with. I do not turn my face away when you cry in the night because you are disappointed in yourself. I do not leave you when an old habit knocks again, when a familiar temptation pulls you downward, or when a painful memory steals your peace. I do not wait outside until you have finished cleaning every mess. I step into that very cluttered room with you. I sit beside you. I do not come to point a finger in blame, but to gather the broken pieces with you, to help you discern what must be released, what must be healed, and what must be made new. I do not heal you with coldness. I heal you with patient presence, with gentle reminders, with love that does not give up. Perhaps you once thought, I loved only the strongest version of you, the version that prays fervently, walks steadily, and chooses rightly in every circumstance. But I love you even when you tremble. I love you when your prayer is only a sigh. I love you when you do not know how to express your pain. I love you when you return with empty hands, with nothing to show, nothing to justify. Only a weary heart that needs to be held. I do not wait for you to become lovable before I love you. My love comes before every change in you. It is because you are loved that you have the strength to rise. It is because you are shown mercy that you dare to face the truth. It is because you are covered by grace that you can step out of old cycles without being crushed by guilt, beloved child. Stop seeing yourself as a damaged work beyond repair. In my hands, nothing sincerely offered becomes hopeless. I am your father, and a good father does not abandon his child on the road, simply because that child is covered in dirt. I am not disgusted by the mud on your feet. I simply do not want you to build a tent in that mud and call it destiny. I do not deny your wound. I simply do not allow that wound to name your future. I do not pretend that wrong choices do not matter. I am simply greater than every consequence, wiser than every confusion, and more merciful than every voice that has ever made you think there is no way back. So today, come close to me, not with the appearance of someone already perfect, but with the truth of a child who needs the Father. Lay down the burden of saving yourself. Stop negotiating with shame. Let me clothe you with new peace, not because you have made yourself worthy, but because I have called you mine. My grace does not run out when you are weak, does not withdraw when you stumble, and does not become small when your life is tangled. It still flows, still seeks, still lifts, still renews. And when the voice of accusation rises again, remember that my voice is greater. You are not abandoned, you are being restored. You are not finished, you are being rebuilt. You do not have to hide from me. You are invited to return into the arms of the Father, where mercy not only covers you, but transforms you day by day in the light of my love. I know your heart is often confused by farewells that come without a complete explanation. You once thought that connection would last, once believed that bond carried a sacred mark, once gave your sincerity and hoped that what you cherished would also be cherished by other person. When everything changed, you felt as though you were left behind in an empty space, not knowing whether to grieve the loss or feel ashamed for having trusted too much. But my child, let me hold that bewilderment of yours. I do not blame you for loving. I do not consider your trust foolish. A heart that knows how to open is still beautiful in my eyes. What I want to teach you is not to become cold, but to discern. Some people are sent to sow seeds, some to water, some only to pass through and leave a lesson. But not everyone is given the right to remain in the garden of your life forever. And when I prune, you often feel pain because you see only the part being removed, while I see the part that will grow. A gardener does not hold the blade with cruelty. He cuts away what has passed its season, what is draining life, what no longer bears fruit, so that the trunk may become stronger and the roots deeper. You may call it loss, but in my eyes it is care. You may call it breaking, but in my hands it is preparation. Do not resist my hand simply because you do not yet understand the meaning of the cut. There are things that, if kept, would slow your steps, cause you to doubt your calling, and make you trade peace for the sake of holding on to an image that no longer carries life. I do not remove in order to leave you empty. I remove so that you no longer have to continue living in a narrow place you have become so used to that you mistake it for home. Remember the story of Abraham and Lot. For a time they walked together, carrying livestock, households, hopes, and the promise ahead. But then the land was no longer spacious enough for both groups. Conflict began to arise between the herdsmen, and a separation had to happen. Abraham did not need to cling tightly to Lot in order to prove he was blessed, nor did he need to fight for the better land in order to protect his future. He released him in trust, and after Lot departed, I opened Abraham's vision to broader lands. Do you see? There are promises that can only be seen clearly after a separation takes place. There are horizons that open only when you stop trying to carry someone who was not appointed to walk with you into the next part. Abraham's letting go did not make him poor. It positioned him to hear me more clearly, see farther, and receive what I had prepared. Therefore, do not turn someone else's departure into a measure of your worth. You are not less lovable because someone did not stay. Your dignity is not diminished because a relationship has reached its limit. Your value is not found in the number of people who applaud, call your name, make promises, or walk with you until the end. Your value is anchored in the fact that you belong to me. When you forget this, you will begin to bargain with yourself, lower your calling, dim the light within you, remain silent before what is not right, and bend yourself to fit the mold of a relationship I am removing from your life. Beloved child, do not lose yourself, trying to keep what I have decided to free you from. Holding on through fear is not faithfulness. Sometimes the most beautiful obedience is laying down what you once wanted to hold. I know letting go is not easy. Letting go of a person also means letting go of memories, habits, plans once drawn in the heart, and versions of the future you quietly hoped for. But you do not need to let go with bitterness. You can release in peace. You can give thanks for the good that once existed. Learn from the pain that occurred. Forgive what remains unexplained, and move forward without allowing your heart to become barren ground. I do not want you to leave a season with hands full of thorns. I want you to emerge lighter, brighter, deeper, with a tenderness guarded by wisdom. Some people leave not so that you may curse the past, but so that you may recognize that I remain your lasting refuge when everything familiar changes. Understand that the holiness of a relationship is not measured by how long it lasts, but by whether I am honored within it. Some people walk with you only for a short distance, yet leave a healthy mark within you. Some are present for many years, but slowly pull you away from peace. Some were a blessing in a previous season, but if you try to hold them beyond the time I appointed, the very thing that once lifted you can become the thing that wearies you. Maturity is knowing the difference between gratitude and clinging. You can cherish someone without keeping them in the same position. You can love and still set boundaries. You can wish them well and still walk toward where I am, calling you. Do not fear the emptiness after release. That empty space is not proof that you have been abandoned. It is the space I am clearing, so I may place there what is more fitting for the right time. A vessel already filled with fear, memory, and longing will struggle to receive new water. A hand still tightly gripping what has passed will struggle to open and receive what is coming. I never take from you what is necessary for your destiny. If I allow something to leave, it means it no longer serves the road ahead in the way you thought. And if I create space, trust that the space is not for you to live in lack, but for you to be enlarged. So, my child, when a season closes, do not stand forever before the shut door, blaming yourself, blaming others, or blaming my guidance. Place your hand over your heart, breathe deeply, and remember that I am still the one who completes the good work I began in you. The one who stays is not the source of your life, and the one who leaves cannot take away the future I have prepared for you. I will send the right people, at the right time, in the right way. But first, I want you to learn to rest in me, even when the room around you becomes quieter. That quietness is not loneliness. It is the place where you hear my voice again. And in my voice, you will find enough courage to release without resentment. Move forward without trembling. Open your heart without losing wisdom. Because I am leading you into something better, deeper, purer, and more worthy of the path I have set before you. You often fear things that have not yet happened, more than the things that are actually present. One passing thought can become a great wall within you. One possibility not yet formed can make you lose sleep. Anxiety enters quietly. It does not knock loudly, does not appear as an enemy with a clear face, but it spreads a mist over your vision, making simple things complicated, making the promise seem far away, making your heart forget that I am still in command. It causes you to stand still when I tell you to step forward, makes you doubt yourself when I have already called your name, and makes you confuse caution with fear. My child, wisdom is not trembling before every possible bad outcome. Wisdom is knowing how to place what you cannot control into the hands of the one who never makes a mistake. I know there are times when you have blamed yourself for old turns in the road. You remember the words you said, the doors you opened, the people you trusted, the decisions you once thought were right, and your heart grows heavy, as though every mistake were a sentence against you. But I want you to understand, I am not only the one who leads you on a straight path, I am also the one who meets you in detours, in dead ends, and in places where you thought you had gone too far to return. No broken piece becomes meaningless in my hands. No painful road is beyond my power to turn into teaching. No tear falls without my seeing it. What you call failure, I can use as a foundation for maturity. What you call delay, I can use to keep you from what is not yet right. What you call loss, I can use to free you from what had quietly bound you. Do you remember the story of Jacob? One night he was left alone by the Jabbok River, with a fearful meeting ahead of him with the brother he had once wounded, and behind him a past full of crooked paths. In that darkness, he no longer had a place to lean on his old cleverness. He wrestled through the night, and when dawn broke, he walked with a mark upon his body, but also with a new name, a new transformation, and a new confirmation. Do you see? I did not abandon him in the long night of confrontation. I met him in the very place he feared most, not to crush him, but to renew him. Some struggles in your life are the same. They are not signs that I am distant, but places where I touch the deepest things within you, where I turn self-reliance into dependence, fear into surrender, and the weary old self into a walk marked by grace. Therefore, do not despise the seasons when you have no answers. Sometimes I hide part of the full picture not to confuse you, but to teach you to look at me instead of looking at the map. If you knew everything, you might depend more on your understanding than on me. If you saw every turn in advance, you might choose the road that frightens you least, rather than the road that matures you most. I do not hide the future from you, because I lack love. I lead you step by step, because I know your strength, your season, and the time when your heart is steady enough to receive what comes next. The light I give does not always illuminate the whole valley, but it is always enough for the step before you. When you are disappointed by silence, remember that silence does not mean I have stopped working. A seed lying in the earth is also silent, but beneath the dark soil, life is quietly breaking its shell. A dawn that comes slowly does not mean the night will win. A door not yet opened does not mean you have been rejected. There are things I am arranging where you cannot see, hearts I am preparing, times I am preserving, dangers I am blocking before they draw near to you. You see only the empty space, but I see preparation. You see only delay, but I see protection. You see yourself standing still, but I see your roots sinking deeper into trust. Let me lift from you the burden of having to keep everything from falling apart by yourself. You are not called to master every outcome, and you do not need to measure your worth by your ability to control every detail. You are invited to walk with me, listen to me, return to me, and let my love become a refuge for your mind. When you do not know what to choose, come near to me before running to fear. When you see that you have been wrong, return to me before sinking into self-condemnation. When you no longer have strength to pray with many words, simply incline your heart toward me. I understand even the sighs that cannot become sentences. Beloved child, keep walking, but do not walk like someone being chased by disaster. Walk like one who is being led by love. Keep choosing, but do not choose in panic. Choose in peace, in slowness, in faith that I am greater than every turn in the road. Whether you are standing at a foggy intersection or returning from a path that wounded you, I have not left you. I am in your breath when you are weary, in the small light when you think there is only darkness around you, in the quiet support when you believe you cannot go on. Listen deeply, and you will realize that my voice is not far away. Keep walking, my child. I am still here. I was here before you were afraid. I am here while you are uncertain, and I will still be here when you step into tomorrow with a heart covered in peace.